Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for tuning in today. My name is Daniela Diaz, Vice Chair for LIBOR Global Business Committee. I'm so excited to be here with you as we kick off our annual Global Success Month. Global Success Month is a month that we have dedicated to help you be successful in the international real estate arena. All month, we will be sharing information and tips needed to help you succeed and spreading awareness about opportunities. Be sure to tune in all month long as we bring you valuable content through webinars, social media, and I'm bringing back our Global Breakfast on March 8th at Terrace in the Park. Check out everything going on at lirealtors.com/global and then click on the Global Success Month tab. Today, we have a great program. I am joined by Stephanie Aker, Global Counsel Engagement and Development Manager for NAR, and global practitioners Aldo Yema and Tony Danzica. We will be diving into all things global, from getting started in your own backyard to closing deals locally and internationally with the global edge, navigating global markets without leaving town, how NAR Global is keeping things fresh, and how to get your CIPS designation. I would first like to welcome Stephanie Aker to the screen to give a brief update about NAR Global before we move into our panel discussion. Stephanie Aker serves as the Global Counsel Engagement and Development Manager for NAR, bringing a wealth of experience from top brands in the real estate industry. Her focus lies in fostering global relationships and understanding the dynamics faced by professionals worldwide. Stephanie loves meeting new people, learning about different cultures, and building genuine, lasting relationships, which has instilled a profound understanding and appreciation on the importance of fostering a global perspective and leveraging cross-cultural insights. Stephanie's passion extends to community involvement, supporting organizations like Word International and the LGBTQ+ Real Estate Alliance, while serving on local community boards in Chicago. Please give a warm welcome to Stephanie.
Thank you, Daniela. I'm just going to run through, and I'm going to keep this really, really short because I want to get to the good part. This panel, we have this amazing group here, all of this knowledge. And so really what I want to do is just for those of you who have been involved in global and those of you who are maybe joining us for the first time, which is amazing, just kind of run through what NAR Global does, what some of the tools are, and how you can succeed in global. And then, of course, our amazing panelists will elaborate on some of those things. So if I could share my screen. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Excuse me. So really quick, again, I'm Stephanie Aker. I'm the Manager of Global Counsel Engagement and Development here at NAR. Some of you may be wondering, what is NAR Global? We really have three key objectives: to develop global markets, raise the level of professionalism around the world, and help our members be more successful, which the biggest part of that is helping you grow your business. And that's what you're going to learn about today. Our global presence, NAR Global, we have bilateral partners. We're on 6 continents. We're in 77 countries. We have over 100 bilateral partners. So these are realtors in over 77 different countries. And then we have over 8,000 international realtor members. So these are realtors that abide by the same code of ethics. They follow the same practices and hold themselves to the same standard of excellence that you all do. So U.S. Association Global Engagement, we have 25 global ambassadors. We'll go talk a little bit more about that program later. 6 global coordinators that oversee those ambassadors. We have over 130 global business councils, such as the LIBOR Global Business Council. And then we also have over 40 ambassador associations. International transactions, as you can see, there's a lot of opportunity for business, for incoming investment from our foreign partners. My favorite number on this one is the foreign buyer median purchase price. You can see that it's actually higher than the domestic purchase price. So lots and lots of opportunities with our international investors. And this report, there's a QR code, and I'll share this all with Evan afterwards. These are all things that you can go and dive into more. This report comes out every year. Other pieces of research that NAR provides. So we have the Region 2 update, or local market assessment, which has more information about how to grow your global, where you can find information about it, resources, all sorts of tools. So again, wonderful, wonderful assets here available for you to help grow your business. We also have the global marketing assets in Photify, so you can brand yourself as a global agent, share yourself out there. After Aldo and Tony inspire you with their success stories, you can go out there and be just like them. And then, of course, we have our amazing global business councils and ambassador associations that do so much to help spread global. I highly encourage you, if you are not already involved with your global council, get engaged, get involved. And if your association does not have a global business council, reach out to me. I am so happy to help you get started on that global journey. So NAR Global, besides the global business councils, ways that you can grow your business and get involved. Of course, looking at getting your CIPS designation, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. Get involved with your global business council. Get involved with those different multicultural groups and diversity groups. So NARUP, the Alliance, NARUP, ARIA, they're all wonderful ways to meet different people, expand your global circle, and also really support the global community. And then look at your personal sphere. You'd be surprised at how many people in your personal network, you know, be it on Facebook or people in your neighborhood or, you know, anyone around you, how many global opportunities there are for you. We also have the international referral form. So this is just an example. Of course, best practice, always check with your broker, make sure that there's not a network agreement or another form that they want you to use. But then we also have the International Realtor Directory. And so you can find realtor members throughout the entire world. So great benefit of your membership. Last thing I'll just show you here is just reminding you to set your sights on global. So I have the information here for our CIPS, our Facebook, which is exciting. We've, in the last few months, really started a great global campaign. We have a strategy to push information out to you, to share what's going on with global. We started our LinkedIn. And then, of course, the NAR Global site has all of the information for kind of your day-to-day needs. And if you ever have any questions, of course, you can reach out to me. Again, I'm Stephanie Aker, the Manager of Global Council Engagement and Development. That is my email, and then that is my mobile below that. So feel free to call me, text me, WhatsApp me anytime. I am happy to help you. So I will stop sharing here so that we can get to this panel. So I'm very excited about this.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Now I would like very interested information. Now I would like to welcome Aldo Yema and Tony Dansinkan to join Stephanie for our panel discussion. Can you please introduce yourself?
Tony, go ahead.
Okay. My name is Tony Danzica, and I'm the co-chair of the Global Business Council for the Hudson Gateway Association of Realtors. I'm also its immediate past president, and I sit on NAR's CIPS advisory board. So I'm really excited to be here and to share some of my experiences. And I'm very excited also that we have Stephanie, who's injected a lot of life into global programming nationwide and really in engaging with all of the members that we have across the country who are interested in developing their global initiatives. So thanks, Stephanie.
And I guess it's my turn to introduce myself. I'm a broker owner here in the, I'm actually right now in Brooklyn, but I work in all the different areas. I'm a member of all the metropolitan boards. I'm a CIPS instructor. I started doing global basically from day one because I was in a very diversified community, so I had no choice. I didn't know that I was doing global at the time, because, you know, we usually talk about how global is local. So I was doing this transaction with money coming over and wiring and all that kind of stuff back in the 80s when some of you were not born yet. You know, but I've been doing this for a very long time. And ultimately, you know, we kind of got formalized in a way that we kind of separate global from everything else, but it really is not. It's just another transaction, a different day. So I'm really doing global every day, and I've been doing that for basically over 30 years. I'm really excited to be part of this group, and that's who I am.
Thank you, Aldo. Thank you, Tony. Now we will start our Q&A sessions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the chat to be addressed at the end. So the first question, what is global and how did you get started? Tony, Waldo.
What is global and how did I get started? Well, I got started in 1987. And global basically was dealing with people that did not speak English well enough or that did not have all the money in the bank here, that came from a different cultural background. And I was thrown in this because if I wanted to make a transaction, I had to find someone in the office that would translate for me. There was a need for me to understand where people came from. How do you negotiate from different culture? When they say no, they mean maybe. When they say maybe, they mean no. There's so many little different things. And I basically got started out of necessity. I didn't go out and say, oh, this is what I want to do because it's glamorous. I'm going to get on a plane and go show a property in Mexico for the weekend. That's not what global was. It was just like being able to do a transaction in my local community with people that were basically maybe they looked different than I did. They spoke a different language than I did. And if I wanted to close that transaction, I had to understand how they thought and what they were looking for and how they were going to go through the process, because I'm talking about attorney, they're talking about a notary. And to me, a notary in those days was you come in, you stamp, something on a piece of paper, and that's the end of it. It's not what a notary is in another country where these people may be coming from. So there were, many different needs that I had to kind of acquire very quickly. And I did not know that I was actually practicing global. What I was doing is I'm selling something to someone who really does not understand English well enough. And in reality, all the things that I had to learn and all the transactions that I lost as a result of not being able to do that is what propelled me into getting to the official global that we know of today. So it was the baptism of fire, as they say in some of the churches.
Thank you so much, Aldo. So we have the pleasure that Yoshi Takita join us. He's in different country right now and different time zone. So thank you, Yoshi, for joining us. If you can introduce yourself, please.
My name is Yoshi with the Keystone Realty with the LIBOR, and I volunteer with the NAR for global liaison. That's it.
Where are you now? He always traveling.
I'm in attending a conference in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur.
What time is there?
1 a.m.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yoshi, you are truly global.
He's dedicated. That's
We were wondering, Yoshi, is this the real Yoshi or is this the body double? Is this the real you?
This is the real one. Yeah, I have a sample.
Yoshi, how did you get started in global?
Okay, that's a good question. Probably about a little over 10 years ago, a friend of mine told me that, I should go to an NR conference in Washington, D.C. And I was a new agent, and that time I didn't have any money. So I saved up all my money, find a hotel, and then went there. And I attended global committee meetings, global sessions. And then, it was like, amazing experience. I didn't know there's a global divisions and people from overseas. And there's another people from another states, and then they are volunteer for global. And they're all like, people from different countries, like, people from South America, people from Europe, people from Asia. And I found like a few people from Japan. And I asked my friend, how can I get involved? And he told me, you need to get the CIPS. So right away, I come back to my New York, and I start taking courses. That's how I started getting global.
That's awesome. That's awesome story. He's always like a mentor. He's a leadership. So grateful to have all this leadership in our association. So second question.
Yeah.
Aldo, how different is a local transaction from an international transaction?
I'm glad that you asked the question because many people feel like, oh, it must be so difficult to do a global transaction. And for those of us who are working in the New York metropolitan area, where once we put together the meeting of the minds, we just turn it over to the attorney. And then we step away and we had to wait the 2, 3, 4, 5 months to collect our check. And basically, we just kind of drive along. In my experience, the two transactions in many ways are kind of the same, but there are some differences because in many cases, an international transaction is actually easier because most of the times it's a cash deal. And if it's not a cash deal, it's probably going to be a very high loan to value, meaning you're not going to have a 5%, a 10% down. There's no FHA. You're talking about 30% and up, 30 to 70% down payment. So once people like it and you bring together a meeting of the mind, it is going to close. And that is because when you're doing an international transaction, it doesn't matter where you come from. There are only a couple of exceptions of countries around the world that would not be allowed. Anyone can buy in our market without having any really residency requirements or things of that nature. We still say you have to have an attorney that deals with immigration because we want them to file for the equivalent of the Social Security number, that is the ITIN. Not that it's needed to purchase. It will be needed eventually when you sell, but it's customary for the attorney to explain to them, you're going to need this number, so we'll file this paperwork now. And we also want them to speak to a CPA about taxation issues eventually when they sell. Now, we do that not because we don't know, but because we do not practice law. We don't want the responsibility, so we step back and we have the attorney or the CPA answer those questions. So in my experience, an international transaction is actually easier. And the best thing to me is that you usually don't argue about, oh, the commission, can you, cutting here, reduction, and so on and so forth. In my experience, there was never an issue with the amount of transaction that we collect. Now, I have to say this, though. If you're dealing with a local person that has been here since Columbus came to the New World, that's a different story than somebody come from a different country. Because when you're negotiating a transaction, you really need to know where they're coming from so that you can take them where they're going to the end of the transaction. So negotiations and what to do and not to do is extremely important. One of the things that people will learn in a CIPS class will be the cultural aspect of being from a low context or high context background, which we really don't have time to get into at this point. But that is one of the benefits of being at CIPS. The SIGNI, because you get to understand, and it kind of gives you some red flags about what do I do now, what don't I do. So a transaction to me is basically in some aspects even easier. Once you know what to expect from some countries, the money will be wired in. It will have to be wired in like 90 days to be seasoned in one of the American banks. And it's really not much of a big deal. So for anyone who is standing by and say, I don't think I can do that, yes, you can. I'm telling you that is no more difficult than it is for a local transaction. As a matter of fact, let me stress it again. If you're dealing with someone who has the low down payment, you got to worry about the appraisal and all of this kind of stuff. Many times, you don't even get to see the buyer. They have a surrogate doing it for them because they want to invest money here because the U.S. is one of the top 3 or 4 countries in the world where your investment is protected and safe because of the title issues that we all know. I mean, I could go on and on, Danielle. I hope that kind of
Yes.
Thank
you so much. Thank you so much, Aldo. Yoshi, how does being involved in the global community, locally and internationally, change your vision and raise your standards?
Sure, yeah. Right after I'm getting a CIPS, my business model totally changed. So I started attending NL conference, meeting people from over 77 countries, and they are realtor members. and meeting with the people from Japan and start building a relationship. And they start inviting me. So every time I go to Japan, they invite me to their conference and then be like a guest speaker, talk about real estate in New York. And I didn't stop in Japan. I mean, it didn't stop there, but also different countries like Philippines or Indonesia, they start inviting me for their conferences. So it's totally it's a different business model, and it's all good networking. All the referral businesses start coming in. So it's totally different experience.
Thank you so much, Yoshi. Tony, can you talk us about global business in the local market with no international travel?
Sure. So I started out as a property manager. I'm a broker owner of my own firm, but I started out primarily doing property management work and very little transactional work. I do transactional work representing mostly investors who are looking to buy in New York. And like Aldo, I think I was doing global and not knowing it, because I was just getting a lot of calls from people who wanted to invest in New York, but they were looking me up for property management services. And so that's how I started. I was getting calls from people in Singapore, in Australia, the UK, Ireland, India. And I started out in a small market. I started out up in Syracuse before I started doing business in New York City as well. And my global business grew organically from that, because as I started taking on property management clients from other countries who were investors, they, as investors, wanted to, of course, build their portfolio. And so as they became ready to search for more properties to purchase, they would naturally use my services. And so from that point, starting out doing property management work, I sort of transitioned into doing more transactional work, searching for investment properties for clients who lived abroad. So it started very organically. And then what happened was they would have a brother or a sister or a friend. And really most of my business, I do almost no advertising whatsoever. Most of my business comes from referrals and from my current clients. That's really where my business comes from. But one of the things that I want to say, I want to just mention, first of all, what NAR defines as a global transaction, because I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm going to be in global real estate, so tomorrow I'm going to go list a condo for sale in Paris. No. So it can be that if you're licensed in that jurisdiction, but really what NAR means is that you're either a non-US citizen who has a permanent residence outside of the US, or you're a non-US citizen who's either like a recent immigrant, or you're like a visa holder who's been here for more than 6 months, right? That's what NAR defines as global. So in other words, if you're doing some work with somebody who falls into one of those two categories, and generally they're looking to buy here in the United States. And we're very lucky because at least up until recently, I think the last time I read up on it was back the 2022 report from NAR. I think it's called the Profile International International Transactions. New York State was ranked number 6 in total global investment. So if you are in this state, or if you're in New Jersey, you're very lucky because you're naturally going to have exposure to so many of these people from around the world. But let's say you're from another country. Let's say you were born somewhere else and you live here, or let's say you live here, you were born here, but you speak another language. If you want to get involved in global, like I said, you don't have to be listing an apartment for sale in Paris. You need to get involved in your local community organizations. If you're Italian, maybe it's the Sons of Italy. If you're Bangladeshi, maybe you're going to be involved in the local Bangladeshi community organizations. We have a member of our Global Business Council at HGAR who comes from Bangladesh, and he's very, very involved in a number of local community organizations in the Bronx that cater to Bangladeshi Americans. And so he's able to get business from that community. So he speaks regularly. So you got to engage regularly with your local community, get involved with your local community groups, especially if you have a cultural affiliation with them. And that can be the start of your global business. You may not know you're doing it already, but look at who you're servicing. Look at the types of clients that you're servicing, where they're from, what their background is. You may be doing it and not know it.
And Tony, just to piggyback on your statement, just to piggyback on your statement, also asking questions, even if you're not from, even if you're working with an ethnicity that maybe isn't your own, showing sensitivity that about the culture can really open the doors up even more also, because let's say you're dealing with someone who isn't of the same ethnicity or from the same area as you, but you're showing such sensitivity, all of the cultures, they may also be like, well, Tony really helped me out and he really knows the culture. And, I think it's just asking the questions and seeing a lot of international business, as you said, happens organically and naturally in our area. A lot of people want to be in the area or in the surrounding areas of New York City. So a lot of people are probably doing these transactions without even realizing that they're actually doing them. So, asking the questions and being super sensitive about their culture is definitely, what I agree with on your statements that you're saying.
I believe that there may be something that is offered to help people with that.
So Aldo, here is another question. What is the CIPS and how does CIPS help Asians have more business opportunities?
What a great segue, Stefan.
A CIPS, let's say what is not, we should start with. A CIPS, which stands for Certified International Property Specialist, it is not a license to do business in another country. Let's make it clear. If you are going to be doing business in any of the 77 countries that we have a relationship with, you are referring that to another local professional. So if you're saying, oh, but I'm not really familiar with the real estate market in Korea, you don't have to. What you need to know is that there is somebody in Korea that you can make a referral to, and there will be a check coming your way. Excuse me, it's not a check. The money will be wired, to be specific. But you have connections in at least 77 countries and growing with NAR. And then you don't have to just do business with an NAR country. You can go and do it any way you want. It's being able to deal with that. So it is not a license for you to do business elsewhere. So to me personally, the best value of CIPS is the network. Being able to network with people that I can pick up the phone or the email and just like be in touch with people elsewhere that will be able to do something. And it's not only there, it's also here. Today is what? Today is Wednesday. On Monday, I open up and I have an email from someone on the west coast of Florida who is asking me, said, I understand that you do international business. And lo and behold, he finds out that among other things that I happen to be familiar with Italian culture, I speak Italian. And wouldn't you know that he is selling a business in West Florida that imports stuff from Italy. So he learned about me through somebody else, and he said, well, maybe there's somebody from New York. I know this guy Aldo in New York. He speaks Italian. He knows people in the Italian community. So now he wants me to be instrumental in selling that business in West Florida, simply because he knows that I'm involved with Global. And I already spoke to him about it. So it is it's very worthwhile, and most likely we'll be able to sell it. So a CIPS designation is just the door that will open up to the ability for you to do things with people from other places if you want to, or do it locally. I love traveling. So when I got my CIPS, I did it because I wanted to get involved, and as a result, it led me to be president liaison and global coordinator in Latin America. So eventually, I became a CIPS instructor. So I have had students from 18 Latin American countries. Just a few months ago in Panama. It has led me to teach courses in Thailand, in Korea, in the Netherlands. So to me, this is what I wanted to get out of it. Other people don't want to get out of their own zip codes, and that's okay too, because there are so many people there, like Tony mentioned, that will be buying and selling, and you don't have to speak their language, just be sensitive to their culture. You don't need to be bilingual or multilingual. You need to be bicultural or multicultural, being able to understand and being sensitive. You know, again, I go back to being able to negotiate with people. You must be able to make them feel comfortable. And the CIPS will make you aware that some of the things that you're taking for granted, people say, oh, who you shake hands with and who you don't do that. That is just scratching the surface. There are so many other nuances. Something like, oh, it's a win-win situation, guys. You know, everybody wins. Well, you need to know that there are people in some cultures that they don't believe that two people can win. If one person wins, the other one wants to lose. And guess what? They want to be on the winning side. So you need to understand how to make them feel like they're getting a deal, so that they can go on to the next step. Again, there's so many different things that you can do at the local level while being global. It's just a matter of you being aware on what you had to do a little bit differently. And you don't have to travel. You don't have to speak another language. You can stay where you are and do global business without leaving, you know, your own neighborhood. Does that answer your question, Daniela?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Sure.
If I
Very
could
good.
add something to that, Daniela, just one thing that Aldo said, because he mentioned network. And, you know, one thing I heard somebody say at an event that I attended a couple of years ago at C5 in Manhattan, one of the keynote speakers said, your network is your net worth. So
Yeah.
you've got to build your network. And one of the benefits of CIPS, like Aldo said, is not just the knowledge that you get, the information that you get, it's the network that you get with it. Because once you're part of that network, you're going to be bumping into these people all the time, whether it's at a conference, whether you're on the Facebook page, that the CIPS network a Facebook page. You could have somebody from California that you may know who is looking to refer business to somebody in New York because they have a client in New York who wants to buy a property or sell a property. And they're looking for, so they would rather refer that business to someone who is in their CIPS network because they know them and they trust them. So rather than going outside of that network, they're referring you. They're referring business to you. It might not be a global transaction, but it's a transaction that they want you to handle because they trust you. So there's other benefits to being part of that network. And basically to get your CIPS designation, it's 5 classes. That's what it is. It's 5 classes and a small annual fee. But once you're in that network, you're part of a global family of probably 4,000 or 5,000. I think Yoshi probably has.
And by the way, I don't mean to give you tax advice. I am not. But my understanding is that when you travel for business, up to 5 days or so, it's kind of a tax deduction. And having said that, come June, Long Island Board of Realtors will be headed to Spain. Our local area, you know, we have involvement with Portugal, with Italy, across the border in New Jersey. We got Korea, and also coming back to New York through Staten Island, you have Israel. You know, you can plan also in September if you want to go to Asia. What better opportunity to go to Kuala Lumpur, the 6th and the 7th, or the 7th and 8th, where you will connect you with all big players in Asia. So you can do all of this kind of stuff and combine it with a working vacation and all of that. So it's just a matter of wanting to have this exposure and getting involved. Yoshi, am I right in those dates about Kuala Lumpur?
Yes, September 6, 7, 8, save the date and come a little bit earlier so we can, you know, do the sightseeing and all the travels.
So you combine business with pleasure, you know, you determine what you want to do.
Yeah, and I have to say the CIPS family, like, you know, like Aldo was saying and Tony were saying, you know, it becomes this global family. And I know in the New York area, Yoshi Monthly organizes meetups for all the CIPS designees. But one of the beautiful things about it is, you know, I'm sure we've all sent referrals in our career, and, you know, you send it out and sometimes you don't know who's on the other end of that, you know, if you're sending it to another country or out of the area. And so the nice thing is, with having international realtor members and also having, when you're a CIPS, you have access to that specific directory that just has CIPS designees, you know that you're sending it to someone who's going to take care of your client, is going to understand the needs of that client, and it has a better chance of, converting. Plus, you're going to get that payout on it. So.
And I should also mention Latin America. If you're interested in Latin America, you will be able to meet all the Latin American representatives in one place under one roof, also in September, which most likely will be held in Quito, Ecuador. So if you're interested in doing part in the Caribbean, business Caribbean, Central and South America, CILA, as it is known, the Congress of Latin American Countries, will be hosting their annual event in September as well. You can always contact me or someone, a LIBOR, and then we'll be in touch in just talking about all of these plans.
I'd also like to comment on the CIPS network for a moment. I just gotta give a kudos to the CIPS Facebook group. It is probably one of the most active Facebook groups that I have ever been a part of. You see people connecting on a daily basis. People are always looking. I actually just saw a post today that someone from another area of America was looking for a property in upstate New York. So, I mean, the referrals are there, and there is opportunity there for that. And as a non-licensed real estate professional, because staff association are not allowed to have a license here, I do also have the CIPS designation. It is so much more than just having experience with real estate. It's helped me in my personal life. It's helped me with my friendships that I have, with meeting new people, with just networking and connecting with people on another level. Really, only one of the classes is really about real estate, which is the transaction tools. All of the other ones go over cultures. They give you a really good education on how to deal with other people that are different than you and from other places.
Yeah. And you have to invest in it. And I don't necessarily mean you have to invest money. You just have to invest the time to get the designation, the time to meet with other CIPS designees or anybody who's doing global transactions, the time to be a part of that community, the time to be a part of your local communities, community organizations, I should say, and the time to really take advantage of all of the different things that NAR has to offer on a global level, but also what your local associations have to offer, because we're very fortunate to be where we are between, New York State, New Jersey, Connecticut. We probably have one of the largest concentration of CIPS designees in the country. We're all tightly compacted in one small little area. And we're very fortunate that we can hold a lot of events throughout the year. We're having a global real estate summit, our 18th annual global real estate summit. That's going to be on November 5th of this year. It's at least 10 or 11 associations that participate in that. People last year came from all over the United States. Yoshi puts together the monthly CIPS networking events and countless global webinars and networking events that we have like today. So you should take advantage of those things, because that's where you're going to meet people. Stephanie and I are both going to the MIPIM conference in France this weekend, largest real estate conference in the world. So attend those events, attend NAR conferences. That's where you'll get the connections. That's where you make your connections.
Tony, is there a place by any chance where you can meet people from other countries? Do they ever come to the United States where you can meet them all in one pavilion, perhaps?
Well,
Aldo, you kill me.
Thank you so much. And
No, I'm sorry, I was referring to, if you are really interested, every national convention at in November will be in Boston. You got anywhere from 800 to 2,500 people represented from every country that they will be there on a rotation basis. Every 45 minutes, there's a new group coming in from all our partner countries. And on one of those evenings, we get together and we have a dinner with, 1,000 to 1,500 of your closest friends from around the world, where you really get to know each other a little better. So that's a yearly event that I think right now, all of us on the screen right now, we do that every year. We've been doing that for a number of years, I think. So that's another thing. That's how do you get to know people? By being there in a matter of in a matter of, over 2 days, you walk away with a stack of business, well, if you get business cards, or you can get QR codes or whatever else it is. Wonderful, wonderful opportunity.
Aldo, I love the plug. Now, the International Pavilion at the annual convention or the convention is just, it blows your mind. I mean, just seeing all these different countries represented and, all these different realtor members coming in from around the world.
Amazing.
And it's outstanding. So thank
And,
you.
by the way, because I noticed Evan put in the comment section, the course requirements for the CIPS. But I believe one of the electives is at home with diversity, which I know a lot of people have. So if you already have that, if you already took that, you are already 20% of the way to getting your CIPS designation. Would that be correct, Aldo and Yoshi?
You are absolutely correct, Tony. If you have that one, you have 4 to go, and you can choose. And the courses that, other than the required, the transaction tools, and the culture, there will be a choice, because it's one on Europe, the Americas, North America, Central America, South America, the Caribbean, Europe, and now there's a new course in Africa. And Africa is the up-and-coming region in the world. We already had 3 bilateral partners, and a 4th one will be coming aboard later on this year. So you get to know everything about the world that you never heard before. You have no idea how many times people will be sitting in that class, and is that a real country? I never heard of that country before. In today's world, you really need to. You cannot confuse people from Australia and people from Austria. They're from different continents, So it doesn't matter how big the country is there. It's one of the 193 countries that the UN recognizes. So I highly recommend it. Even if you're not going to do anything else, just for your own personal self, just knowing, the world becomes smaller once you get to know more about it. So great investment of time and very little money involved.
And NYSAR also has some funds for education. So if you want to get advantage of that and get and they paid for your education too, that would be awesome too, right? You have just to be involved, get to know. You have to know what you're doing, right? And everything is coming.
Yep, there is a scholarship fund that they do. So you apply. It's very, very simple to do, and then you can cash that in. And if you wanted to do it online on your own pace, you can do it online. If you want to do it, you can go. Actually, we hold an American version every year in Costa Rica. We had when people come to the Netherlands, from other countries. If you want to experience something different, you can do that. There's no limit on what you can do and how far you can expand your horizon.
I took my CIPS in Costa Rica, so it was 5 days and it was amazing. I would do it again, no question about it.
And the pricing varies. The pricing varies. I think it's probably like about $150 a class or something like that. But you can get, you have associations across the country. Sometimes your state associations, local associations that offer discounts. I know NYSAR recently offered a discount for a CIPS class. So, you be on the lookout for those, and you might be able to catch a class at a good discount as well.
And to echo with that, sometimes you would want to take your CIPS course with another association. That way you can already start building your network. As Daniela Diaz had just mentioned, she got her CIPS in Costa Rica, which is lovely. And which she was able to connect with people from all over, not just from New York. With the CIPS, you want your network to be wide. You want to have a large network with people from all around the country and hopefully the world. That way, when you have clients, you can become the person that can help them out wherever they're looking to go.
Yeah, a lot of the associations now, you'll see different groups that are offering, and I did put the schedule in there. So if there's anybody, who has courses going, send those into the CIPS team. But, there's a lot of destination, it's becoming something where it's like, go learn about the country, go learn about, different locations. And also, we all work really hard in real estate. It's hard to find that downtime. So to be able to go somewhere, get your education, do some business, do some networking, and then, maybe get a little bit of downtime to go explore the local market and, kind of see what's going on there. It's a great way to do it. So lots of options.
Yes, in Costa Rica, after every class, we were going to property tours. So we have the whole week, we have property tours and commercials, and it was amazing. It was amazing.
It's like fully
So-
immersive.
And I love it. Yes. So now I have a question. What is NAR Ambassador Program, Stephanie?
I love that you asked that. So the ambassador program is really cool. So we actually have two different kinds of ambassador programs. So we have the ambassador association. So like Libor is the ambassador association to Spain. Tony from Hudson Gateway, you know, he works with Portugal, and he had mentioned also the global summit that they do. The Portuguese delegation actually came in. So there were 11, 12 from Portugal that came in, and you got to do property tours and got to see. So it goes both ways. But so the Ambassador Association program is something where it's almost like a sister city program. Each association is eligible to apply for it. And what we do is we partner them up with one of our bilateral partners. And so you're supporting them through their global journey. They're providing you with information about practices in their country. And it's just another way for us to network. Now, our Global Ambassador program, which is outstanding, we have 25 global ambassadors, and these are volunteer members. And Yoshi was one of our ambassadors. Aldo was previously an ambassador. They volunteer their time to go and network with the other countries and to be really that expert. And so if you have questions about Portugal or you have questions about Colombia, I'll share in the link here, the ambassadors, but the ambassadors are the experts. So they can tell you who to talk to in that country. I mean, they're highly qualified. All of them have their CIPS. So that's another reason to get your CIPS is if you're interested in being an ambassador. The first step to that is getting your CIPS. They all have a connection to that country or that culture. And so they really take their time to offer their services and their expertise and their experience and, you know, their knowledge about those countries and those cultures to help bring a stronger relationship and also more awareness. Our ambassadors they'll go and, you know, attend the different functions in the other countries. They will bring delegations here, and during the annual conference, when we have that big global pavilion, they're there and they're helping host our different international guests and making those introductions. So being an ambassador is something I have so much appreciation for everything they do, because again, it is a volunteer position. They're taking time out of their business to offer their service and their expertise. And so if you're interested in becoming an ambassador, because I do get a lot of questions about that, the applications open up usually around April, so sometime after legislative meetings in DC. And then it is a presidential appointed position. So there is an application process. There is an interview process, and you go through it. But if you're interested, apply. Share that knowledge. But also, if you're interested in finding out about another country, if you're wanting to visit, maybe you're taking a trip to Portugal, or you're taking a trip to Italy, reach out to the global ambassador and let them know. Like, say, hey, I'm going to Italy. I'm interested in meeting someone, because they can make those introductions. And it also provides a service to our bilateral partners, because then they know who's coming. They're usually very welcoming and open and excited when Realtor members from the US come and visit them. So really, again, our ambassadors are that connection between and what make this global program work. So, and then Daniela, do you mind, I just wanted to share one thing really quick, as long as we're talking about the ambassador program.
Mm-hmm.
And also the other thing is not only the ambassador program, but there's also different global committees that you can get involved in, and committee applications to just open up. So I'll share that information here too. But I wanted to share, as long as we were talking about the different conferences, Aldo brought up the annual conference, but then we also have at the meetings coming up in DC. This is the global meeting schedule. So anyone who is interested in attending these, or maybe is interested in starting their journey to becoming an ambassador or getting more involved, you can sit in on the CIPS advisory board if you want to find out more about what that's about. The Global Alliances Advisory Board is another great session. Global Businesses and Alliance Committee, the Global Business Council Forum, and then there's the CIPS networking reception. So that is a ticketed event. But all the information is out on the website. But if you're interested in getting more involved in global, if you're interested in becoming an ambassador, if you want to really dive into the global world, hopefully you can join us, or, you know, at least start getting involved with some of the groups with your local business council.
I also want to just echo about the legislative meetings that the ticket to enter, if you're an NAR member, it's free. You only have to pay for your hotel accommodations and then whatever you're doing for food or things like that. But to go to the actual event, to go to most of the meetings, it's free for you to go to. So I do believe that the CIPS networking reception does have a cost, but most of the other global meetings are all open and free to attend.
Yeah, absolutely. And we welcome everyone, especially I love seeing new faces in the different meetings, because that just shows that more people are getting excited about global, and that makes me happy.
And usually, once you finish the CIPS courses, you're gonna go to this kind of reception where you see your name on the board, then you get pinned by someone from there, your instructor, whoever it is, and you're gonna feel like at the VIP that you are at that event. So, you know, it's a very nice thing that is done in May, and then again, it's done in the fall for the national convention. So you really, really feel good about your accomplishment, because you are one of less than 1% of people around in the whole NAR family that had the designation.
Perfect. So we have another question, but I think it was responded, because it says, how can an agent start getting involved in global markets? And I think we all talk about getting involved, like going to the conventions, right? Get the CIPS. So we're gonna see if Evan has more questions from.
Actually, there were 2 questions that came through, but I do think we also answered those. One was if you could tell us what's going on at Washington, D.C. legislative meetings. I think maybe just a great closing, a way that we could close out the meeting. Does anyone have any tips on anyone who's to give someone who's new entering the global market? What are some things they can maybe start doing today or later this week that can really start them on this?
I have a question, a quick question for you. If someone is not a CIPS yet, and they wanted to meet people who already are, let's say like a breakfast event the LiveWorld may hold at some point down the line, would they be allowed to participate this coming Friday at the breakfast if they don't have the CIPS? Would that be okay? Could you make an exception?
So all LiveWorld global initiatives are open to our membership. Of course, we want people to learn about the CIPS. It really can only benefit your business by getting it. But yeah, if you're not ready to take the full plunge on doing a 5-course institute, we have great programming that we do at LiveWorld once a month. We have a webinar series where we feature a different country. It used to be called Travel Abroad Virtually with LiveWorld, but we recently rebranded it to Going Global. Our next webinar is actually going to be in April, and we are featuring representatives from CREA, the Canada Real Estate Association. And then, yes, Aldo, on this Friday at Terrace on the Park in Queens, we are hosting our 6th annual Global Breakfast, which is a great place to kind of get your feet wet on what's going on in global.
Is it true that Yoshi will be signing autographs? I think because he's getting off the plane and he's coming straight there. Is that right, or am I making that up?
That is what the rumors are saying.
Great.
Okay, I would like to thank you everyone for being here today, and a special thank you to our panelists. Global Success Month began with the mission to help our local agents understand global opportunities and break into the global marketplace. We hope you found today's webinar informative and inspiring. Be sure to join us every Wednesday from 12 to 1 for our special Global Success Month webinar all month long. We have a packed lineup of webinars scheduled and have our 6th annual Global Breakfast scheduled for this Friday, March 8th at Terrace on the Park. Next week, we have the pleasure to feature Francis Fernandez, CEO for the Spanish International Realty Alliance in Spain, LiveWorld Ambassador Association, and Marisa Kagan, NAR Global Ambassador for Spain, Italy, and Portugal. Check out everything going on at lirealtors.com/global, and then click on the Global Success Month tab. Thank you so much for everything, for being here, for sharing this time. God bless you all.
Any
Thank you,
questions
Daniela.
before
Thank
we
you.
sign off? And was there any particular question that people didn't have a chance to put in their chat? You know, because we still have a couple of minutes, I think.
2 minutes.
Anything you always wanted to know about Global, but you were too embarrassed to ask. This is the time. Anyone? Going once? Going twice? Gone.
Thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you,
Okay.
Daniela. Thanks, Evan.
Nice
guys.
seeing you, Tony,
Great to see
Yeah.
you, Stephanie.
and
Yoshi
Stephanie,
Aldo.
everybody.
Bye.